The galaxy was old. Stars had burned and been reborn 1,000 times. Civilizations rose, ruled, and fell like waves on a shore. But through all the ages, there was one story whispered in secret meetings and dark halls. It was the story of humans, most. Young races knew little. To them, humans were myths, shadows of a people who had once existed but were long gone. Some believed they had destroyed themselves in war. Others said they had been erased by greater powers. But none truly knew until the signal came. It started as a faint pulse on the edge of the Perseus arm. A small, broken wave of sound repeating every 11 seconds. Most scanners ignored it, thinking it was static, the death cry of a collapsing satellite. But one officer noticed. His name was Kale. He was not special, not a leader, not a warrior. Just a junior communications officer working on a remote listening post orbiting a cold red star. His shift was long and lonely, filled with hours of silence and numbers on screens. But on that night, something strange happened. Kale leaned closer to his console. The signal was weak, almost invisible. He adjusted the filters, narrowing the band, sharpening the sound. The noise shaped itself into something deliberate. A rhythm, a pattern, a message. Impossible. Kale whispered. He checked again. The pattern was old, very old. The format matched no modern code. But deep in the archives of his station, buried in forgotten files, there was a match. The language of Earth. Human language. The signal was human. Kale froze. His breath quickened. His hands shook as he copied the waveform and played it back. The sound was distorted, broken by centuries of decay. But the voice, yes, the voice was still there. This is Earth. If you are hearing this, we are not gone. Kale's skin burned cold. His species had long been told that humans were extinct, their homeworld ruined, their colonies dust. Yet here was a voice speaking across time and death, claiming survival. He should have reported it immediately. Protocol demanded it. Signals of unknown origin were to be sent directly to the High Council for review. But something inside Kale told him not to. The Council feared humans. Even the mention of them in official chambers caused silence. If they learned he had found this, they would erase it. Erase him. Instead, Kale hid the recording. He downloaded it into a personal file chip, tucked it inside his uniform, and deleted the traces from his console. He pretended nothing had happened, but that night, as he lay in his quarters, he could not sleep. The words echoed in his mind. If you are hearing this, we are not gone. What did it mean? Had humans survived? Were they hiding? Were they watching even now? The next day, Kale returned to the console early, before anyone else. He scanned the same frequency, searching for more. And there it was again, the signal, still pulsing, still repeating. Only this time it was clearer, stronger. This is Earth. We are the last, but we are waiting. Kale gripped the console, his heart pounding. They were waiting. For what? For whom? He replayed it again and again, each time feeling a strange heat rise inside him. It was not fear. It was not confusion. It was awe. Humans, the ghosts of history, were speaking to him. He had to know more. Kale requested temporary leave from his post, claiming illness. He used the time to travel through the station's restricted archives, bribing a technician for access. What he found chilled him. The archives contained fragments of reports from centuries ago. The last days of Earth. The records described chaos wars across continents, skies burning with fire, seas boiling. The Council had declared Earth uninhabitable, claiming humanity had destroyed itself. Yet hidden between the lines, Kale found something strange, mentions of ships. Not warships, but vast colony arcs launched in secret. Destinations unknown. The reports ended suddenly, sealed by the Council. No explanation, no closure. Kale leaned back, his mind racing. If humans had escaped, if they had hidden themselves somewhere, then the signal was no accident. It was a call, but why now? Why after so many centuries? He returned to his quarters, sat in silence, and replayed the signal again. His eyes closed, his mind drifting with the rhythm of the human voice. And then something happened. The signal changed. Only for a moment, but Cale heard it. A second layer of sound beneath the words. He slowed it down, filtered it, and the hidden message revealed itself. Coordinates. Cale's chest tightened. The signal was not just a warning. It was an invitation. The numbers pointed to a dead system, far beyond the border of civilized space. A place marked on most charts as silent, a graveyard of ruined worlds. No ships went there. No trade routes passed nearby. It was forgotten, abandoned, exactly where humans would hide. Cale felt torn. If he reported this, the Council would act immediately. They would send fleets, erase every trace. If he stayed silent, he risked everything. But deep inside, Cale felt something new, something humans had once been known for. Curiosity. That night he packed his things. He transferred his savings, bribed the dockmaster, and boarded a small merchant ship heading out system. Nobody questioned him, nobody cared. Just another quiet officer leaving for personal reasons. But Cale had a destination. The forgotten system. The place the humans had marked as the ship left orbit and the stars stretched into lines of light. Cale whispered the words again, tasting them, feeling them. We are not gone. Cale's journey through the void was long and quiet. The merchant ship he had taken was small, carrying crates of ore and food supplies. Its crew barely spoke to him, and that suited him well. He wanted silence. Silence to think about the voice, the coordinates, and the hidden history of humans. He spent hours in his cabin replaying the message. Every time he listened, he noticed details he had missed before. The voice sounded old, maybe centuries old, but strong. Each word carried a weight, as if spoken not only to be heard, but to survive. We are the last, but we are waiting. Waiting for what? Waiting for whom? Cale opened his datapad and searched for everything recorded about humans. Most of it was propaganda. The Council's official version described humans as reckless, violent, and self-destructive. They said humans were too dangerous to survive in a civilized galaxy. That was the reason Earth had been left to die. But the more Cale read, the less sense it made. The archives spoke of human wars, yes, but also of their creativity, of their ability to adapt to any world, any condition. They had spread far in a short time, faster than most races. If they had been truly destroyed, why were so many records erased or sealed? Why did the Council fear even their memory? Cale's thoughts were interrupted when the ship dropped out of faster-than-light travel. Through the window, he saw the dead system. A pale star hung weak in the distance, its light cold and thin. Around it circled shattered worlds broken. Rocks, dust, and ruins of moons torn apart. The crew avoided looking outside. They muttered to each other, nervous. This place was cursed, they said. Ships that wandered too close sometimes vanished, never returning. Cale felt his heart beat faster. He knew the coordinates were here, hidden among the debris. When the ship docked at a small refueling station, Cale left without a word. He hired a one-man scout vessel, paid double the price, and told no one where he was going. The scout ship was old and rusty, but its engines worked. Cale sat alone in the cockpit, hands tight on the controls, eyes fixed on the glowing numbers of the human coordinates. The deeper he flew into the system, the darker it became. Shadows of ruined planets drifted like ghosts. Then he found it dotted. First, it looked like another asteroid, spinning slowly in the darkness. But as Cale approached, shapes appeared. Towers, metal structures half buried in rock. A station, ancient and broken, but still standing. Cale's breath caught. The coordinates had led him to a human ruin. He docked carefully, the ship locking onto a rusted airlock. The doors groaned as they opened, spilling stale air into his cabin. Cale put on a rebreather mask and stepped inside. The corridors were dark, covered in dust and silence. But there was power-faint lights glowing on the walls, flickering as if they had been waiting centuries for someone to return. Cale walked slowly, his boots echoing. His hand brushed across metal walls, scratched with old symbols. He could not read them, but he felt the weight of history pressing down on him. At the heart of the station, he found a chamber filled with machines. Dead screens, silent consoles, broken wires. But in the center stood something still alive. A single archive terminal, glowing faintly with blue light. Cale's hands shook as he touched the screen. It responded instantly, flooding the room with a soft hum. Symbols scrolled across the display. Then, slowly, they shifted into words he could understand. Human Archive, Project Last Dawn. Cale's chest tightened. He had seen those words in the Council's sealed files. Now they were here, in front of him, waiting. He pressed a key. The screen flickered, and a voice filled the chamber. It was human again. Not the same voice as the signal, but another, younger, clearer. If you are hearing this, then our plan has survived. We are humanity. We were driven from our home, hunted and forgotten. But we are not gone. We left behind these records, not for our enemies, but for those who seek truth. Learn who we were. Learn why we endured. The chamber walls came alive with light. Images projected in the air. Earth's oceans blue and endless. Its cities towering and alive with light. Its people walking, laughing, fighting, dreaming. Cale watched, his throat dry. He had never seen humans before. They looked fragile compared to his kind, but their eyes, there was something fierce in them. The archive continued. Many called us violent. Many feared us. They were not wrong. We fought each other, yes. We made mistakes, yes. But we also loved, created, and imagined. We reached for the stars not because they were safe, but because they were dangerous. We adapted to every world, every trial. That was our gift. Cale's heart pounded as more images appeared. Humans on frozen planets. Humans building cities. On deserts, humans laughing under alien suns. Then the voice grew darker. But the galaxy did not welcome us. The Council saw our growth and feared it. They feared our will. They chose to erase us, to burn our home and scatter our children. Yet we did not vanish. In secret, we built ships. We hid in shadows, we became whispers, and we prepared. Cale leaned closer. His breath fogged the glass of his mask. Prepared for what? The voice answered, Project Last Dawn, our final hope. If you are hearing this, then somewhere, somehow humans endure. And when the time is right, we will return. The chamber fell silent. The lights dimmed. Only the terminal glowed, waiting for Cale's next command. His legs felt weak. He sat on the cold floor, his mind racing. The Council had lied. Humans had not destroyed themselves. They had been attacked, erased, hunted. Yet they had survived. And now Cale had found their truth. But what would he do with it? Cale could not stop thinking about what he had seen. The human archive, the voice, the truth hidden for centuries. It burned inside his mind like fire. But truth was never safe. He had left the human station in silence, carrying copies of the archive in his datapad. He promised himself he would keep it secret. Yet deep down, Cale knew the signal was not his alone anymore. The galaxy had heard whispers of it. The Council had eyes and ears everywhere. And where the Council listened, others hunted. It began with shadows in space. Cale's small scout vessel drifted through the dead system when he noticed strange readings. At first he thought it was debris, broken rock from the ruined planets, but the shapes moved against the stars. They were too controlled. Too precise. Ships. Dark ships, sharp as knives sliding through the void without light. Their hulls bore the mark Kale feared most, the symbol of the Dominion, an empire older and crueler than most races could imagine. The Dominion had always hated humans. In ancient stories, they called them the Infection. It was said that when humans rose too quickly, spreading across worlds, the Dominion had been the first to strike against them. They wanted no rivals, no competition. And now, here they were, returning to finish the work. Kale's hands trembled on the controls. He killed the ship's lights, silenced the engines, and drifted among the debris like another dead rock. He prayed they would not see him. Through the viewport, he watched the Dominion fleet spread like a net. Cruisers, frigates, hunting craft. They scanned the ruins, searching for something, searching for the same thing Kale had just found. Humans. Kale's breath caught when one of the cruisers turned toward the very station he had just left. Its cannons charged, glowing red. In a single blast, the ruin was gone, reduced to fire and fragments. The archive, the voice, the history, all destroyed. Kale shut his eyes, heart pounding. He had been only minutes too late, if he had still been inside. But the copies on his datapad survived. He had the knowledge, the proof, that made him dangerous. That made him a target. The Dominion ships lingered in the system, their scanners sweeping. Kale knew they would not leave until they were sure no trace of humanity remained. His vessel was old and weak, no match for their technology. One mistake, one wrong move, and they would find him. For hours he floated in the dark, silent as the rocks around him. He replayed the archive in his mind to keep from losing focus. The human voice, the images, the promise of last dawn, they gave him strength. Finally, the Dominion fleet began to move. Most of the ships jumped away into faster-than-light corridors, scattering toward unknown destinations. But Kale knew what that meant. They had found the signal too. They had decoded the coordinates. They would search every ruin, every shadow. And if humans still lived somewhere, the Dominion would burn the galaxy until nothing remained. Only one smaller vessel stayed behind, patrolling the system. Kale's chance to escape was narrow. He powered his engines slowly, carefully, hiding behind drifting asteroids. Each movement was a risk, each second a prayer. When the patrol ship turned away, Kale engaged full thrust. His vessel shot into the dark, engines screaming as he forced it to jump into faster-than-light travel. Behind him, alarms blared. The Dominion had noticed. But by the time they locked on, he was gone. The jump lasted hours. Kale sat frozen in the cockpit, staring into the swirling tunnel of light. His body shook with exhaustion, but his mind burned. With one thought, the humans were right. They had known their enemies would come again. That was why they hid their history. That was why they prepared. But what could Kale do? He was one man, one officer with no power, no army. If he went to the council, they would erase him. If he ran, the Dominion would find him eventually. He looked at the datapad, the archive glowing softly. The human eyes stared back at him, fierce and unbroken. "Learn why we endured," the voice had said. Kale closed his eyes. He would not run. He would not hide. If the Dominion hunted the truth, then he would carry it forward. He would learn from the humans as they had wanted. And maybe, just maybe, that would be enough to fight back. But as the ship tore through light and darkness, Kale did not realize something important. He was not alone. The Dominion had marked his vessel. A hidden tracer clung to his hull, silent and invisible. Wherever he went, they would follow, and the hunt had only just begun. Kale's ship broke out of faster-than-light travel near a lonely star system. His vessel was shaking, fuel almost gone, hull damaged from the desperate jump, yet he was alive. And more important, the archive data was still safe. He sat in the cockpit, breathing hard. The Dominion had almost caught him. If he had waited even a minute longer in the ruins, he would have been ash. But he knew it was only a matter of time before they found him again. They always found their prey. Cale opened the datapad once more, listening to the human voice. Project Last Dawn. If you are hearing this, humanity still waits. The words filled him with strength. Humans had been hunted, erased, yet they refused to vanish. They endured in silence, waiting for the right moment. But Cale did not yet understand what Last Dawn truly was. A weapon? A fleet? A dream? He needed answers, and the coordinates hidden inside the archive gave him a path forward. Another location. Another secret, with what little fuel he had left. Cale steered his vessel to the coordinates. The journey was long, the ship barely holding together, but finally he arrived. Before him stretched a vast belt of frozen asteroids, orbiting a dim yellow star. Buried deep within the belt, cloaked in shadow, was something impossible. A ship, but not like any ship Cale had ever seen. It was massive, a fortress of metal and light, scarred by centuries of silence. Its hull was covered in strange markings, human words, faded but unbroken. The vessel looked asleep, as if it had been waiting 1,000 years. Cale docked carefully. The ship's systems recognized his small craft and allowed him entry, as if expecting him. The airlock opened with a hiss, and Cale stepped into darkness. The corridors were cold, lined with dust. Yet lights flickered awake as he moved deeper inside, guiding his path. It was as if the ship sensed him, welcoming him. At last he reached the heart of the vessel, a command chamber. In the center stood a cryostasis pod, glass covered in frost. Cale wiped it clean with shaking hands and froze. Inside lay a human, not a ghost. Not a recording, but a real human, still alive in deep sleep. His face was aged, lined with years, but strong. His hair was silver, his body thin yet powerful. Cale's breath caught. He was looking at history. The pod suddenly hissed. The glass slid open. The man inside gasped as air filled his lungs for the first time in centuries. Slowly, he sat up, his eyes opening sharp, burning with life. Those eyes met Cale's. "You." The man whispered, his voice rough. "You are not human. But you found us." Cale fell to his knees, overwhelmed. You are real. You survived." The man stood weakly, yet with dignity. "Survived? No, we endured. We hid, we waited." He placed a hand on Cale's shoulder. "Tell me, stranger, do the stars still remember us?" Cale swallowed hard. "The Council says you are myths. The Dominion calls you a plague. They hunt your memory. But I have seen your archives. I know the truth." The man's eyes narrowed. "Then the time has come." Cale stared. "Time for what?" The human's lips curved into a grim smile. "For Last Dawn." He walked to a console, pressing his hand against it. Lights blazed across the chamber. The ship shuddered as ancient engines roared back to life. Cale felt the floor vibrate beneath his boots. Systems powered on, weapons charged. Shields awakened. The man looked out through the viewport at the cold stars. Project Last Dawn was not a weapon, he said slowly. It was survival. A plan to hide the last of us, to keep our fire alive until the galaxy forgot. We buried fleets, we left archives, we scattered seeds of knowledge. And when the time was right, we would rise again. Cale's eyes widened. "And now, is it time?" The man turned to him. "Yes, because if you found us, then others will too. Our enemies are not blind. The Dominion will come, they always come." As if answering his words, alarms blared. The ship's sensors lit. Up, a fleet was entering the system. Dominion ships, dozens of them, closing fast. Cale's heart pounded. "They followed me. I led them here." The man's expression hardened. "Then it begins." He pressed another command. Across the asteroid belt, hidden stations lit up. Ships buried in ice and rock awoke, one by one, human ships. Old, scarred, but powerful. Their engines burned as they rose from the shadows like ghosts returning from the grave. Cale stared in awe. A hidden fleet. Last Dawn was alive. The man's voice thundered through the chamber. The galaxy believed humans were gone. The Dominion believed we were ash, but today they will learn the truth. Outside, the first Dominion cruisers entered range, their weapons charging. The human fleet turned, ancient guns glowing with fire. The battle for survival had begun. The stars burned with fire as the battle began. The Dominion fleet swept into the system like a storm. Their ships were black and sharp, glowing with red light. Their weapons cut through the void, tearing asteroids into dust. They came with one purpose: to erase the last memory of humanity. But this time, the humans were not hiding death from the shadows of the asteroid belt. Ships awoke from centuries of sleep. They were old, yes, their hulls scarred, their armor dented. But they were alive. Their engines roared with light, their guns thundered with ancient fury. It was as if ghosts had risen from graves to fight once more. Cale stood beside the awakened human commander, the old man with silver hair and burning eyes. Though he had just emerged from centuries of sleep, the man moved with purpose. His voice was strong, steady, commanding. "Do not fear their numbers," the man said. "Do not fear their fire. Fear only silence. For silence is death, and we are not silent anymore." The human fleet surged forward. Dominion cruisers fired first. Beams of red energy slashed through the dark, smashing into the human ships. Explosions flared. But the humans answered with weapons of their own, missiles streaking through space. Railguns cracking, energy blasts tearing into enemy hulls. Cale's eyes widened. He had never seen such fighting. The Dominion fought with precision, cold, and calculated. But the humans fought with something else, something wild, unpredictable. They twisted their ships through debris fields, hiding, striking from impossible angles. They fought like survivors, like predators who had learned every trick to stay alive. The Dominion lost ships quickly. What should have been an easy slaughter turned into chaos. Cale felt his chest tighten. This is why the Council feared them, he thought. This is why the galaxy tried to erase them, because humans were not just strong. They were relentless. The old man turned to him. "You see it now, don't you? The truth about us." Cale nodded, unable to speak. The human commander looked back to the battle. His voice dropped, almost a whisper. "They always thought strength was numbers or weapons. But real strength is the will to fight even when hope is gone. That is what they never understood." Another explosion rocked the chamber. Alarms blared. A Dominion dreadnought entered the field 10 times larger than any human ship. Its guns lit up the dark, ripping through the asteroid belt. Human ships shattered under its fire. Cale gripped the console. "We cannot win against that." The old man smiled faintly. "We don't win with power. We win with mind." He gave orders quickly, his voice sharp. Human ships scattered, breaking formation, fleeing into the debris. To an enemy's eyes, it looked like retreat. The dreadnought pursued, its guns blazing. But then, hidden mines planted long ago by human hands detonated around it. Asteroids exploded, ripping holes in the dreadnought's shields. Human ships darted back in, striking at its exposed sides. The great ship staggered. Cale's eyes widened. "You planned this, centuries ago?" The commander's voice was calm. "We planned everything. We knew they would return. We prepared the battlefield before they even arrived." The Dominion dreadnought tried to recover, its guns firing wildly. But human ships swarmed it like wolves tearing down a beast. Finally, with a single blinding blast, the dreadnought exploded, breaking apart into fire and silence. Cale stared at the flames drifting in space. For the first time, The mighty Dominion had been broken, but the battle was not over. More cruisers closed in, more weapons charged. The humans were strong, but they were outnumbered. Even with their hidden traps, even with their fury, they could not fight forever. Kale turned to the commander. "There are too many. You can't hold them all back." The old man's eyes narrowed. "Then it is time for the last truth." He pressed a sequence into the console. Deep within the massive ship, something ancient began to awaken. Kale felt the floor shake, the air hum with power. "What are you doing?" he asked. The commander looked at him, his gaze fierce. "Project." Last Dawn was not just about hiding. It was about rebirth. About making sure humanity's spirit could never be erased. "You will see." Outside, the stars burned brighter. Human ships drew closer to the flagship, protecting it, giving it time. Dominion fire rained down, but the humans refused to break. Kale felt his chest tighten again. Whatever was coming, it was bigger than a battle, bigger than survival. It was the truth about humans, the truth the galaxy had tried to bury, and it was about to rise.